Hi, and welcome to the Sagebrush Happy Hour journal entry for Friday the 13th of December of 2024. So, one of the things of living out off grid here is that everything's a kind of a worry. The three things are basically power, water, and heat. And right now we're getting down into the single digits overnight, and it's starting to be cold season. And there's always like one little mistake that you can make, and it's going to snowball into basically taking up your entire day. And so, uh, so like a mistake of maybe leaving the freezer door open on the refrigerator, and it takes up a lot of power, and you lose some food. Um, in this case, a couple days ago, I think on Thursday morning, is that during the night I'd forgotten to completely close the door to our utility shed. And so our utility shed is heated by passive solar. It has what's called a trom wall on the south side, and that basically absorbs the heat into the, and it's a straw bale structure, well insulated, and it generally stays, relatively warm for not having any kind of active heat in there. It seldom gets below 40 degrees. However, I made the mistake of leaving the door to that utility shed open, cracked open, and overnight temperatures got down to single digits. And so the next morning when I was waking up and looking at the power and seeing I had 30% power, and so it was okay to run the coffee maker, and I went to get water for coffee, and there was no water. So that immediately meant that the pipe, we had a frozen pipe. So I do have some backup water inside, 5-gallon backup water, and so I was able to at least make coffee and then get on my coat and everything and go out to the utility shed and check things out. And so what I have to do is, fortunately there was no pipes that were burst, and so what we wanted to do was gently heat the utility shed up without hoping that none of the pipes would burst. And so we've had pipes burst in the past, so I was really knocking on wood that wouldn't happen. And so we had what's called a little buddy heater. And so this is another one of those off-grid essential pieces of gear. And it's a small propane heater that can run off of a 1-pound propane canister. And so if you're, and you don't have any heat in the house and you just need to get warmed up, you can use a little buddy heater inside the house. And in this case, I was able to use that inside that shed and run that for about an hour to kind of heat things up. And that got that from that temperature of it was right at 32, 31 degrees. And then it was able to get that up to, 40, 45 degrees in about an hour. However, it did take up my entire morning because I had to move everything out of the shed that was in front of any of the pipes so that we could get warm air toward those. And when it was kind of, while I was there, I thought I would go ahead and change out the sediment filters on our water system. And so I cleaned out the 10 micron and replaced that in the 1-micron filters. And and there was a little bit of ice built up in the 10-micron filter, and fortunately wasn't any ice in the 1-micron filter. So anyway, it ended up taking about half the morning or half the day to get everything back up and running, and the water running again, and the pump being happy, and so on and so forth. So that's just another day in the life of a life on grid here in the Sagebrush. Cheers.